Hi, welcome back. In this video, I will walk you through how to import data from Excel file to R. Before going into R, let us see some sample files. In this file, we have three sheets, sheet 1, 2 and 3. In sheet 1 is a plain database. First row having headers and subsequent rows will be followed by the records. Sheet 2 also similar format, but I have given some lesser records to identify the difference between sheet 1 and sheet 2 while importing into R. In sheet 3, I have taken multiple variations, all practical scenarios we encounter in our day-to-day activities. In the top few rows, some informational data will be there. From fifth row, headers will be coming, and there are some blank rows in between. There are some merged cells are there, and there are some blank columns are there. Here merged cells are in rows, in merged cells are in columns. I will explain how to import these types of scenarios into R. Now let us open R. To import XLS file into R, we are using a library called openxlsx. This library will be useful for us to load data from XLSX files into R. Currently we have our sample data in this particular path. Let us change our working directory to that folder, and also let us import the library called openxlsx. To import data from Excel file into R, we will be using read.xlsx function from openxlsx library. The syntax is like this: read.xlsx in brackets, we have to give the file path, sheet name or sheet number or index number, starting row from which data is available in the particular sheet, whether the first row is containing headers or not, whether the first column is containing row names or not, to detect the dates from Excel file, whether to import empty rows or not, or empty columns or not, what are all the rows we require to import into R and the columns we require to import into R, to check the column names whether they are correctly formatted or not, to rename the spaces in the column names. By default, it will be replaced with the dot symbol. If we want, we can change it with underscore or any other character. The next one is, we all know that in Excel there will be some name ranges. To import those name ranges, you can use this name region option. And the inner.strings will deal with null cases. The fill merged cells will deal with merged cells in the Excel, merged rows as well as merged columns. Now let us see an example. Now let us import Excel data into R. First I am importing the data from this particular file. For your easy understanding, I am just retyping this function, read.xlsx in double quotes. Here my working directory is available in sample data, but actual data is lying in the sample data within this xlsx folder. Within this is the file name. To get this path, I'm just typing dot is equivalent to this working directory. I'm just pressing a tab symbol, dot followed by a slash symbol. I'm just pressing a tab and selecting the folder name, again pressing tab, and I'm choosing the file name. Or alternatively, you can also paste the path here from the clipboard. I'm just pressing Ctrl Enter to execute this command. Now let us see what is there in this particular table. Here it is showing almost 90 records. The first column contains the sheet number, item description, sales executive, invoice number, net amount. All these fields are imported. If we observe, the date format has been imported as a numeric. I will explain how to deal these scenarios in the subsequent part of this video. This is a plain importing of a database of an Excel database into R. From now onwards, I am just showing you top 10 records in each example. Instead of showing all rows, I will show like this top 10 records. So it will be easy for us to view the data in a single screen. In the next example, I am importing the data from the second sheet. I can give sheet number 2 here, Control Enter. Now let us see what is there inside. It has been imported. If you see in Excel 2, there are some 20 objects are there. Objects means records. 20 records are there. I am showing you only top 10 records. Instead of sheet index number, you can also give the exact sheet name also. Let's execute this. Both are same. You should be very careful that it is the case sensitive. Instead of, if I change the case here, you will get an error. So you should be very careful while giving this sheet names. From now onwards, I will be importing the sheet number 3, which contains multiple variations and all practical scenarios in the particular sheet. Let me import this. The data is starting at 5th row, like that I'm giving the input. Let us see exactly in which row data is being started. From 5th row, we are getting the actual data with the headers. Let us see the output. It has been imported properly. If you observe here, the same column name has been repeated. This type of scenarios we will deal subsequently. The next option is colNames. whether the first row is a header or not, we can give the input here. Read.xlsx, we have to give the xlsx file path, sheet number, starting row, fifth row is starting for us. Column names, I am giving true and false in two separate comments. Let us see each output. In this, it is showing proper headings. Now let us import by putting column names is equals to false. Here, the fifth row is treated as a record instead of header, or automatically assigned some column names here. Specify whether header names exist. Like the column headers, in R, we can also assign the row names. We can tell R whether this first column can be considered as the row names. Let us import the first scenario. Our first column has been considered as row names, where I put row names equals to true. In the second scenario, where I put row names equals to false, the first column has been imported as a record. Now let us see how to deal with date conversions. It is simple. We have to give the detectDates equals to true. Excel dates will be converted into R format and imported into our database. Let us execute it and see the output. If you observe here, now it is showing as a proper date. Now let us see how to skip the empty rows. By default, this read.xlsx function will ignore the blank rows and blank columns. Now let us see by changing this input to false as well as true. First I am trying with the skip empty rows is equal to false. Let us see the output. First two rows are empty rows, so those are also imported in this particular table. It is not missing any blank rows also. It's trying to import all the blank rows also into our database. If we put skipped empty rows is equal to true, or we can completely ignore it, it will ignore the blank rows. See, the blank rows were ignored and only actual data has been imported. Same thing for the columns also. In our data, if we observe, this fourth column is a blank column. By default, it is ignored and imported earlier. Now let us see the two variations by changing skip empty columns to true and false. First, let us try with false. Let us see the output. Here, the blank column has been imported as x4. If we put skipped empty columns is equal to true, or we completely remove it, we'll ignore all the blank columns. See, there is no blank columns here. The next option is we can choose the column numbers or row numbers which we want to import into R. Here I am trying with the column numbers 1, 3, 6, 8. Here it's specifically asking about the numeric numbers instead of the column names. So we have to give all the numerics in the small c. Let's execute this. From the source file, first column, third, sixth and eighth columns only are imported. You can also choose the row numbers which we want to import into R. 5 to 10, 12 and 18 only I just selected here. Let us see what will be the output. From 5 to 10 only 3 non-blank records are there and 12 and 18 are imported. Now let us see the column names. If you observe that in the source file there are some blanks in between the header words. While importing, R automatically converted them into dot. If we don't like using dot, we can change that by using this option. sep.names equals to, we can choose any one character here. I am choosing here underscore. Please observe all the spaces in the headers were replaced by underscore. Still, this column is getting duplicated. This will be an issue when we are using this table. So in the next option, I am giving the check.names option. Now let us see the output. In this case, if any headers are duplicated, it will suffix with the .1, .2, .3 like this. Even though we put the underscore here, it will be only useful for the spaces in between the headers, but not the duplicates. If any duplicates are there, the system will automatically convert them into .1 or .2 like this. Dot only will be used. Now let us try importing a named region. First, let me show you what is this actually named range. In this file, go to formulas, go to name manager. Here I have created a named range called name underscore test. This also we have to use case sensitively. N is caps and T is caps. In between underscore is there. Let me import this named range. When you are using the named range, it will ignore all the row numbers or column numbers what we have selected. It's importing what is there available in the particular named range. In some scenarios, the files we are getting from our IT team may have the null cases mentioned as null null. Instead of keeping blanks, they will give us by putting their null string. Here and here there are null cases. If we don't want to import them as it is and we should replace them with the actual null cases or NA cases, you can use the option here. NA.strings equals to, here we have to give that exact string here, null. Now let us see what will be the output. Wherever null string is there, those were replaced with actual blanks. here, and in net amount also some NULL cases were there. Those were converted into actual null cases or NA cases. Now let us see how to deal with the merged cells. Originally, without using this function, what would be the output? Let us see. Here, some merged cells are there, and here also merged cells are there. Actually, this data is showing in the only top row alone. Remaining 3 rows, it is showing blanks while importing in R. See this. First row alone, it is showing as data. Subsequent rows were replaced with blanks. If we want to import the same content in all 4 records, we can use the option fill merged cells equals to true. Please observe here these rows and here also observe these 2 columns. Now let us see the output here. Now the same content has been filled in the subsequent rows also. Here also the same content is filled wherever merged cells are there. If we put fill merge cells equal to false, it is as equivalent as this top command. Let us see. Now again it is filled with the blank cases. With this, we have learnt how to import data from Excel to R. Now let me test with some bigger file and see how much time it will take for us to import the data into R. This is the sample file, around some 77 MB is there. Let me open this. Here the data was actually duplicated by me. Same data has been copied 2 times or 3 times here, and some 7 lakh rows records are filled. The same data has been copied down. Now let me import this bigger file into R, and finally I will show you how much time it took to import this bigger file. It took around some 38 seconds to import some 7 lakh records into R. It is pretty good. Hey, congrats! You have learned how to import data from Excel file into R. You did an excellent job. Thank you for watching this video. Sample files used in this video will be shared in the description. Stay tuned for more valuable content.